Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Achakodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS that give us his truth and all his purity. And salutations to all you Akim pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth. This lesson will be touching the downfall of you women, in the light of everything that's going on with this current administration. Donald Trump cutting funding to Medicaid, Section 8, food stamps, over $700 billion worth, and that's going to affect millions of families, mainly the low income individuals, which is you so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native American women. You've been depending on this government, on these benefits, for decades, and now the so-called white man, the serpent, is taking back the deal that he made with you ease, man, and you got all these women coming online complaining about how they don't know what they're gonna do, how they about to be homeless, just within the past month, over 105,000 jobs have been lost from black women. Let's get that. Black woman job. There we go. April jobs report. Black women lost 106,000 extra jobs, most among all workers. So 106,000 jobs within 1 month. So what do you think is coming next, man? This is the reason why you got these women humbling themselves, talking about how they just want a man that, that has a job, Before, he had to make six figures. He had to be 6 feet tall. He had to have six packs, all of that. But now they're, so-called settling, That's what they've been saying for years, that, they're not settling, unless he do this, unless he do that, they're not settling, I'm a high value woman. I need a high value man, they don't want an average men, but now they're all so-called settling, and a lot of black women are actually, agreeing with polygamy, dealing with men that's married, that there's plenty of those pages online. I seen a few of them on Instagram, it's black polygamy, where women are black women are full total support of polygamy, man, and this is a fulfillment of prophecy. Isaiah 4:1 says that 7 women is going to take hold of 1 man, and Lord's will, I'm going to get that, but hey, man, this is going to lead to a lot of, women being cut off, man, going back to the spirit realm, the children, babies getting taken out, because they can't feed themselves. Hey, a lot of women going to resort to eating their own children. That's in the Bible, man, right? So, we here at GMS, starting with the apostles, have been saying this for a while. Apostles been saying this for decades, man, that, all these programs will be cut off, right? And now we're seeing it coming to fruition, man, right? So this is Isaiah chapter 32, verse 9. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech." That's right. So rise up, ye women that are at ease. Women have been at ease here in America, in Babylon, This is, the only time in history where, like it says, a woman is going to compass a man in the future in the book of Jeremiah, This is the only time in history where women have been at full, total ease here in America and the West in general, the UK and, European countries, Canada, whatever, but they've been at ease because of feminism. Feminism has given them a lot of so-called rights, over the men. They could work, they could get their own money now, You know, I'm strong, independent black woman. I don't need a man. You know, all that bullshit they be saying, man. This is why Kevin Samuels and the Red Pill movement went viral, because it was for a while no man really had a voice. You know, which everything that the Red Pill movement and Kevin Samuels was saying, you know, they really got that from the apostles. The apostles been saying this. You watch the old videos from '08, you know, even before then they've been saying this, you know, but we got these guys that, you know, they take bits and pieces of the truth, you know, of what the apostles say, you know, GMS in general, and then, you know, they go and, you know, create their own lane, you know. But, you know, yeah, Kevin Samuels, the Red Pill movement went viral because, you know, men didn't have a voice, and they felt, you know, they felt, that's what I'm looking for. You know, I can't find a word now, but, you know, pretty much Kevin Samuels and the Red Pill is voicing what most men felt, you know, for decades, man, you know. So rise up, ye women that at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. And these women have been careless, man, you know. They walk around America, you know, with no care, you know, knowing that the cops, you know, got their backs. They could call 911 at any time. You know, they could talk shit to men, get in men's faces, pointing at men's faces. You know, like all this disrespectful shit that you see here in Babylon. You know, you don't really see that in other countries, especially in the East. You know, the things that these women get away with here in Babylon, they would get put to death in other countries, man. Right? The things they get away with here in third world countries, they wouldn't get away with, because in third world countries, you know, you don't have, you know, the cops, like you have the cops here in Babylon. You know, I know where I'm from, Haiti. Hey, the things these women get away with here, they get smacked the fuck up if they was out there, man. You know, they get smacked the fuck up or put to death. Your ass get buried somewhere, man. You know, because they're, like I said, the feminist movement, those so-called rights that they received, made them lose respect for the men. That natural fear they're supposed to have for us, man. You know? So it says, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. So many days and years shall ye be troubled, right? Which, when you look it up in the NLT, it says, Isaiah 32:10, it says, if I'm reading on, it says, listen, you women who lie around in ease, listen to me, you who are so smug. In a short time, just a little more than a year, you careless ones will suddenly begin to care. And this is what's happening, you know? In a short time, just a little more than a year, right? Donald Trump, he's been in office since January. Well, guess what? All the things he's done so far within, 5-6 months, you know? He's been destroying this economy, you know, firing, you know, hundreds of thousands of government workers, which a lot of you black women, you know, you had your government jobs, you work for, you know, the state or whatever, you know, and you trusted in that. But he's coming away and dismantling all of that, man, you know. And, you know, by this time, if we still here by next year, hey, man, we talking millions of jobs being lost, man, due to what this man is doing, you know. So it says in a short time, just a little more than a year, you careless ones will suddenly begin to care. And you're beginning to care now, which is why a lot of you are so-called settling, man. There's this loneliness epidemic among women. If you go to TikTok, you go to Instagram, all these different social media sites, you see women coming online and complaining about being lonely, you know? Or what happened to the men, you know? Why are men not approaching women anymore? Why the club is dead. Why are men in the clubs? Well, they'll show a club where it's pretty much 90% women and just a few men. You know, they got these different dating events where it'll be nothing but women, and it'll probably be like 2-3 men and like over 100 women, man. You know, so that just shows you that we're the prize, man. You know, men are the prize. The Israelite men are the prize, not the women. And they've been deceived for all these years thinking that they were the prize. And they've been looking down on us. But now, you know, the Most High is flipping it, man. You see, so it says, for your fruit crops will fail. Your fruit crops is what? Your fruit crops is your basket, your savings, you know, your jobs, your benefits, your EBT, where you get your food from, you know, all of that is failing. For your food crops will fail and the harvest will never take place. So you're not going to be able to collect no checks, no benefits, you know, from the government, man. All that is done away with. All right. And this is the Most High bringing it to you, man. You've had it easy, man. You so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native American women had it easy. You know, a man could, you know, try to look for a spot, you know, where to live. And, you know, it's hard out here, man. But a woman, she could just apply for a program and just get a whole apartment. Government paying for housing, man. Giving her food stamps, giving her all these different benefits, man. You got a lot of women that that ain't working decades, you know. They got kids, you know. They might have, you know, black women 3, 4, 5, 6 kids and just getting welfare as well as child support, you know. Tax season come around, they claim all the children. The men don't get no say so, you know. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is dismantling all of that, man. And now they're resorting to being humble again, you know. But guess what? Men already checked out, you know. Majority of men have checked out of the dating scene, you know. And I myself, you know, I don't even partake of that. You know, fuck them bitches, man. You know, listen, hey, I'm a brother. Listen, you got to chase me. You know what I'm saying? You know, these women, they don't realize the value of the Israelite men. You know, and us as Israelite men, we got to understand we're the prize, man. And Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, it's turning the tables around. Where they're going to be the ones chasing us. They're going to be the ones begging us, you know. Now you got all these simps catering to them, giving them money, free money for no fucking reason, man. And I hate that shit, man. I cannot stand that shit, man. You know, women just showing how niggas just splurging on them for no reason. Just a nigga get their number, oh, here, 3,000. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know, men have lost their self-esteem, their self-respect, you know? And guess what? All them simp-ass niggas ain't gonna make it in that day, man. All them Captain Saver hoes, you know, trying to come around in that time, they gonna get taken out, man. You know? You're gonna have women getting raped left and right. You're gonna have a lot of men try to stop it. You can't do that to a female. Bow. Dead, nigga. You know? So it says, verse 11, it says, tremble, you women that are at ease. Throw off your complacency. You black women have been complacent. You know, you've been depending on this government, on Egypt, you know, and you've lost that respect that you've had for your men, you know. But Donald Trump is bringing in that squeeze. He's making you uncomfortable. He's having you get off that couch. Get your ass up, man. You know? Get a fucking job, man. You broke bitch. You broke bum. You know, that's what they say to us, right? Broke bitches, man. Right? And that the time we're coming into, listen, man. You woman, you don't got a job. You don't got nothing going on for yourself. Listen, we ain't dealing with you, man. You're going to have to take care of us. Hey, man, it's so beautiful how the Lord is flipping the tables around, man. You know, it says, throw off your complacency, strip off your pretty clothes, and put a burlap to show your grief. So strip off your pretty clothes, all them, you know, tight dresses and, all these different attires that you be wearing, the spandex, all of that, guess what? In that time, it's going to be to your own detriment. Having those type of attires will result to your rape, to you getting, taken, right? So let's see real quick. Yeah, the burlap is the sackcloth. Oh, I don't got no word for it. What? Okay. Well, we know what the sackcloth is, but pretty much a lot of women, they gonna put on those bum clothes. They gonna try to make themselves ugly in that time, because looking pretty and beautiful and dainty and all of that in that time is gonna be dangerous. So a lot of women gonna try to fake it, though, try to look crazy, throwing dirt on themselves, hey, even with the whole makeup thing, ain't gonna be no makeup in that time. Ain't gonna be no wigs and weaves and them fake eyelashes. The nails, the fake nails and all that. All of that's gonna be done away with, man. These bitches think that they're tens, dime pieces, just because they put on some makeup. You will have a fat black woman, come online with their makeup on, talking about, I'm a 10. The fuck? Guess what, man? And that time, all that's going to be stripped off, man. So it says, beat your breast in sorrow for your bountiful farms and your fruitful vines. For your land will be overgrown with thorns and briars. Your joyful homes and happy towns will be gone. So, we living in a time of destruction, time of war, World War III. The scriptures tell you how the men, they're going to be shipped off to go to war. So what do you think is going to happen to you women, man? You're going to be spoiled, You're not going to have any protection. A woman is not built for survival. A woman is not built for self-sustenance, man. There can be no woman without a man, man. A man could do very well on his own. A woman cannot. Women need men, They've been pushing out this narrative that I'm strong and independent, I don't need a man. But everything you use in the society depends on the men. You want to talk about the electricity, the roads, whatever, construction, your jobs, it's all backed by men, supported by men, right? So it says the palace and the city will be deserted and busy towns will be empty. Wild donkeys will frolic and flocks will graze in the empty forts and watchtowers. So, it's going to be a shortage of men, Let's get Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. It says, in that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids. So women going to be begging men, to take care of them. Like I said earlier, in the times we're coming into, listen, man, brothers, we going to have the pick of the litter, We going to be the ones getting chased, turning bitches down, Hey, man, we going to even be turning down dime pieces. Woman you think are bad, IG models, So they will say, let us all marry you. We're going to provide our own food and clothing. Meaning what? They're going to have their jobs and, they're going to have these, certain women still won't retain these benefits. But guess what? They will need protection, because you can have all that, but you're still a damn woman, at the end of the day, and you can't protect yourself. The times are coming into, survival will be essential, and in order to survive, you need a man. You need to either be a man or you need a man to protect you. As a woman, you are feeble, you're spoiled. Spoils of war. You could have a big house. You could have whatever. You could have nice things. Well, guess what? 911 goes out. Men come to your house. You're out of there. You getting raped. You get all types of shit, man. Right? So they're going to say, only let us take your name, meaning what? Let's marry you, as it says, so we won't be mocked as old maids. You know, because you got a lot of women, they're past their prime. A woman's prime is her teenage years, in her 20s, you know? That's a woman's prime, man. So we already know, you know, this is all, you know, biblical studies show this, that men, we like younger women, you know? Years ago, the apostles, you know, but out how, you know, in the kingdom, we're going to be dealing with younger women, you know, 13, 14 and all that. And niggas don't lost their minds, calling us pedophiles, child rapists and all that. That's all scriptural, man. If you Google, matter of fact, let's do that. Let's see. Look, it says the New Testament does not explicitly state the ages of Mary and Joseph at the time of Yahushua's birth. However, some apocryphal accounts suggest that Mary was between 12 and 14 years old when she was betrothed to Joseph, and around 16 when pregnant. Because in ancient times, a woman becomes a woman around her puberty. Just like a man becomes a man around his time of puberty, around the age of 12. This is why when they turn 12, well, it says when they turn 12, when Yahushua turned 12, he went up to Jerusalem, man. 3 times in a year shall males appear before me. You know, that's the age of accountability, where you're not just a child anymore. Like, you know right from wrong, right? It says right here, the history of Joseph the carpenter, written in the 5th century and framed as a biography of Joseph dictated by Yahushua, describes how Joseph, aged 90, a widower with 4 sons and 2 daughters, is given charge of 12-year-old Mary. Now, there's no scripture that says that, right? But, you know, it shows you that, you know, many different accounts, even, you know, those things are not scriptural. You know, a lot of those shits is made up, right? But, you know, there's a common understanding that Mary was younger. You know, that she was about 12 years old, anywhere from 12 to 16, you know? And I read that Joseph was about like 30, 40 years old, you know? Right here it says Mary was between 14 and 19, while Joseph was in his 20s. So was Joseph a pedophile? Right? We know Joseph is Yahushua's father, you know, according to the scriptures, you know? So was he a pedophile? Right? Right here it says the Bible doesn't explicitly state how old Mary was when she married Joseph, while tradition and some non-biblical sources suggest she was a young teen, potentially between around 13 to 15, and Joseph was an adult, possibly in his 20s or 30s, you know? So, yeah, man, you know? In fact, get second Esdras. Hey, man, you woman, you're about to be in mourning, man. You know, great mourning is coming to you women, to you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse, let's see. Okay, yep. Let me start at, let's see. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 22. It says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. That's right. So we coming in a time of famine, man. You know, the economy is going to collapse. There's not going to be any food in the stores. The scriptures say the sown places is going to be unsown, and the storehouse is going to be empty. Your Costco's, your BJ's, your Walmarts, your delis, whatever grocery store it is going to be empty. The tariffs are affecting literally everything. The whole supply chain. You know, and especially in times of war, there's always famine in times of war. Especially world wars, right? So the Lord said, many of them that dwell on the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So either you die by the famine or you die by the sword, which is going to be what? World War III, you know? And as well as the societal collapse, the chaos that's going to come from that, from, you know, looting and rioting, martial law, the military killing people, you know? It says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. That's right. So you're going to have bodies laid out everywhere because there will be no sanitation. The states, the government, the cities, they're not going to have funding for those jobs because all the money is going to be going to war and AI, to this digital system, The dollar is going to be damn near worthless, which is why they're gonna bring in this new money, this digital money, the digital currency, through a RFID chip, a CBDC implant, central bank digital currency. You got Trump, he talking about stable coin, his digital currency, man, right? So it says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. So those bodies going to be laid out in the streets. You're going to have garbage everywhere, Everything is going to be in shambles, man. Just like they show you the movie I Am Legend, right? It says, for the earth shall be wasted and the city shall be cast down. So it's going to be looking post-apocalyptic out here. Buildings crumbling, shit all over the place. It says, there shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. So that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. So it's going to get so bad that, men are going to desire to hear each other's voice, Post-apocalyptic, they show you that in movies, man. The movies like The Road, I Am Legend, The Book of Eli, Places are desolate of men, and seeing somebody else that's alive, it'd be like a shock. You trying to find out like what they're about, they're a threat, So that's how it's gonna be in that time, man. So no men being there means what? No upkeep for the society. All places shall be desolate of men, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. In the movie I Am Legend, they show you Will Smith. He was losing his mind because he didn't have nobody to talk to. And he was talking to a mannequin, So that's how bad it's going to get. Verse 28, for of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. So of a city there shall be 10 left. So imagine a city like New York City. Well, you have 10 million people, 8 to 10 million people. Imagine that significantly being shortened down to 10 people, man. That's fucking crazy. Do you realize the amount of deaths that has to take place? So 10 is going to be left in the city. And then the ones that men in the field, which is what, going into the, what they call it, those rural areas, 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the cliffs of the rocks, hiding in, in forest, in places where it's not too much human activity, because they're going to be trying to hide from troops, from the AI drones, from the foreign invaders, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, as well as the government, the military, the U.S. military. It says, as in an orchard of olives, upon every tree there are left 3 or 4 olives, or as when a vineyard is gathered, there are left some clusters of them that diligently seek through the vineyard. Even so, in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword, which is going into what? Those, military men coming through, cleaning up neighborhoods, killing people, taking some in captivity, shipping them off to concentration camps. You're going to have marauders, looters, breaking and entering into different houses, right? So it's going to be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. So majority of people going to get taken out. Verse 32, and the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. So no more upkeep, right? No more, what they call it? What's that? When they cut in the grass? What they call it? Landscaping. Yeah, no more landscaping, no more construction, renovation, right? All that's going to be done away with. It says, the virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. So that shows you right there, in times of trouble, women need men, and not having a man in that time will, lead to your own detriment, man. That means you got no protection. Can you imagine you're a young woman, let's say you're 18 years old, 19, 20 or whatever, or even younger, 14, 15, you lost your parents, you don't got no brothers, your brothers got, let's say if you do got a brother, he either dead or he got shipped off to fight in World War III, and now it's just you. And then you come across a pack of men, even if it's just one man, but you coming across men and it's just you, and then you look good. Oh no, it's not gonna be pretty, man. So the virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms, the women shall mourn having no husbands, their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. And the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. So your men is gonna die in the wars. World War III, getting shipped off to the Middle East to go fight against Iran, getting shipped off to Europe to fight against Russia, to Asia to fight against China, to never be seen again, man. Right? And the men that's available here in the soils of America, they're going to be dying left and right from starvation, So, that's it on that. Now let's get Isaiah chapter 3, verse, let's see. This is Isaiah chapter 3, verse, I'm going to start at 24. It says, and it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty, which is the curse that befell our women, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American woman, but mainly the so-called Black woman. She has that smell, the hygiene, is gone, because ancient times, part of a woman's hygiene was to be bathed in sweet smelling oils and all of that, man, which gave her a sweet smell, a sweet taste, but they lost that touch. Now they just take a shower. That's not how it's supposed to be, man. You're supposed to let that thing soak, man, right? That's why you got that smell. And then you wearing them pants, which got your coochie choking, shit sweating, choking. It needs to breathe, man. A woman is not supposed to wear pants, as it is written, a woman should not wear that which pertains to a man. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For those that do so, abomination to the Most High. So woman, you're supposed to wear dresses, man. Let that coochie breathe, right? But they don't do that. So that thing got that smell. And the times we're coming into, you're not going to get those hygienic products. You're not going to be able to afford them, and they're not going to be available. You're not going to have no pads. You're not going to be able to take showers because there ain't going to be no running water. So women going to be stinking, man. It says, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well hair, set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. So the Black woman is already cursed. They don't got no hair. We know that. A Black man could grow his hair longer, faster than a Black woman could in her whole life. You'll have women that they'll be natural for years. And then you'll have, a so-called black man. He'll grow his hair for like, let's say 3, 4, 5 years. And his hair will go longer than a black woman. And that proves that we're the Israelites, man. You don't see that amongst the other nations. The Africans, they could grow their hair, the African women, right? But you don't see that with our women, man. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth and burning instead of beauty, so you're gonna have, these women, they're already out of shape, right? And the times we're coming into, as we read, you're not gonna have no more pretty clothes and all of that. You're gonna be humbled, right? Those jobs that you have, you might be a lawyer, doctor, whatever. You got those degrees, you're so proud. You look down on men. If he ain't making this much, I don't want him. All that pride is gonna be done away with. As we seen in Venezuela, those women, when the economy collapsed, women that was in those positions, they turned to straight prostitution, man, selling that twat, right? Because what else you got to offer? You don't got nothing else to offer, man, right? So this is what's gonna be happening here in Babylon. You're gonna have women that's like up there making 6 figures, resorting to prostitution, man, just for a breadcrumb, right? It says, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. So you're gonna be desolate, you're gonna be humbled. Sit your ass down, right? Damn, what's the Apocrypha? Oh, they just, all right. So, let's see. It says Sirach 36 and, let's see, verse 24. I'm sorry, 24 says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. So a woman is a man's possession. You don't own yourself. You either belong to your father or you belong to your husband, right? So a man that gets a wife gets a possession. That's like you get a new car, a new pair of shoes, right? That's what you are as a woman. You belong to a man. It says a help like unto himself and a pillar of rest. And that's what a woman's supposed to be. But now, they are pillars of chaos, man. You got men that don't even want to go home, working overtime just to not deal with a woman, man. The scriptures talk about, a man would rather dwell in the wilderness and with dragons than to deal with a contentious woman, man. Right? The old baker, any black woman, she got a big ass mouth, always talking shit, and eventually a lot of men just get upside their head, and guess what? They get locked up for domestic violence and they get labeled as abusers. But they failed to mention how the woman was abusing him first, verbally abusing him, taunting them, pointing in his face, nigga, you ain't gonna do shit, nigga, you ain't shit, and then bow. And then now he's locked up. Call 911. Guess what? And that time, men gonna get their fucking revenge, man. Movies like the First Purge, I believe, they show you how this woman, I gotta watch it again, but you had this woman, she basically used to get hollered at by different men in her building, and she used to ignore them and shit. And as soon as the purge hit, guess what? They came right to her apartment. So all the men that's been done dirty, getting locked up over false accusations, which happened to me before. Some bitch lied and said I hit her. Like, what? The cops telling me, oh yeah, we got evidence. What? I ain't even do that. But anyways, guess what? In that time, men that's been done dirty is gonna come for these women's heads, man. Baby daddies and all that, they coming for their baby mamas, man. Right? It says, this is the point, verse 25. Where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled. Now the hedge is what? The men, your husband. So when you don't got no husband, no men, you as the possession will be spoiled. You see? You're gonna get taken, used as sex slaves. A lot of y'all gonna get raped and then chopped up to get sold as meat, right? This is what's gonna be happening, man. You're gonna be sold on the black market, you know? You're gonna get raped and you're gonna lose your organs. Man gonna chop your ass up, you know, take your livers out, sell it on the black market, all types of crazy shit, man. It says, and he that have no wife will wander up and down mourning, which now, you know, you got men mourning now due to not being able to get these women because these women got too high standards, you know. You got men making average money, right? An average worker, which back then was enough for a woman, but now they all want the same top 1% men. You got to make this amount. He got to be this. Got to be handsome. Got, you know, it's just something that's unachievable. But meanwhile, they want that. At the same time, they're giving up the pussy left and right. You know, giving it up left and right. But then you want this specific man. You got all this high standard for this specific men. If you're gonna be with me, you got to do. But we know you fucking bitch. Be in the club, twerking, all types of shit, man. Right? So it says, who will trust a thief well appointed that skippeth from city to city? So who will believe a man that have no house and lodgeth whatsoever the night taketh him? That's right. So, you know, you got you know, these you know, homeless men and shit, you know, going from, you know, house to house and shit, you know, they're not trustworthy, man. Right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it on this lesson, man. You know, so with that, you know, I hope this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praises, glory, honor to Yahweh Bashim Yashah, Bashim Hakodash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS that give us his truth and all his purity. And salutations to all your Akim in this world throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.